He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
Thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome, everybody, on this insanely hot Wednesday night. Real field temperature at 9 p.m. in New York, 94 degrees. Congratulations, everybody. The concrete jungle has never felt more like a jungle. Meanwhile, President Trump tomorrow night is going to have a speech to the nation, 8 p.m. We'll talk about it afterwards on this particular show at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC and on stations around the country, around the world. But this is primarily going to be about the 2020 election. Now, I go two ways on this. It's 2026. Trump ran again in 2024, won every swing state, won the popular vote. Republicans took back the Senate. Like, you got your revenge. So why are we talking about this? But then again, I see his point around we can't, if that happened in 2020, there's no reason why it can't happen again in 2028 when he's not running or any other election. As far as, look, I think anybody out there, including Democrats that are listening right now, there is no person on this planet that can argue that Joe Biden legitimately got 81 million votes. I'm not saying voting machines were hacked or anything like that, but it's weird that President Obama, for example, when he was Barack Obama, and he had a big movement in 2008. I remember that. I remember the fact that the momentum, the energy behind this guy, and obviously the press rooted for him because, hey, the first black president. And he was very good in the campaign trail with the speeches. Remember, he had the columns out in Denver for the DNC. And just in general, the malaise around George W. Bush and everything that happened with the Iraq War that went on way, way too long. And Katrina, which wasn't Bush's fault per se. That was more in the local and state level in Louisiana. I'm not going to get into that and relitigate that right now. But in the end, Obama got 68 million votes. And Joe Biden, campaigning from his basement, where there's no Biden base, there is no hankering for Joe Biden. How did he get 13 million more votes than Barack Obama? Then you say, well, because of Trump, anti-Trump vote. Okay, so if we use that metric, Biden got 81 million against Trump in 2020, and then Kamala got 6 million votes less than that in 2024. 6 million votes just gone? There's still anti-Trump sentiment, clearly, if that's the argument. But it didn't happen. So Trump's speech on Thursday is going to be about what happened there. And again, there's some things that just happened there that it's worth asking the questions. In Georgia, Fulton County, that's Atlanta, a water main break stopped the voting counting process in the middle of the night, and then they resumed, and Trump was up big in Georgia, and then suddenly, bye-bye, gone. Same thing with Pennsylvania. Trump was up 16 points on election night and lost that state. Same with Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, a lot of states. And you say, well, the mail-in always favors the Democrat, I guess, but you're telling me that Trump lost all 5 states he had big leads in? Or was there something nefarious at play that we just don't know about? Apparently, Trump, now that he's in power again and has all these resources and tools to look into this stuff, is saying that I got some new evidence and I'm going to present this on a nationally televised speech from the Oval Office. And I'm just curious exactly what he has. But I have a feeling, again, if you go back to the original question, did Joe Biden get 81 million votes, the most of any human being in U.S. presidential history? 13 million more than Barack Obama, 17 million more than Hillary Clinton, who had bases. Like, there were people that genuinely wanted those people to be president. Joe Biden didn't have a base. Anti-Trump, that only gets you so far, as Kamala Harris figured out. So I want to hear what's going to happen here. Cut number 1, Trump giving a preview of said speech. 1, go.
Really big news. It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is It doesn't get bigger, because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah.
So he would not do the speech if there was no there, and there appears to be a there. Scott Jennings over on the insane asylum that otherwise is CNN had some thoughts on Mr. Trump's upcoming speech in cut number 2. Go.
What evidence is he going to present about the election that he lost?
I'm with Joe. I think it's not good to prejudge a speech that hasn't been made yet, but there has been speculation that investigators have found that there may have been foreign interference or attempts at foreign interference in 2020. Now, it wasn't that many years ago, as Joe pointed out, that we were all aflutter about foreign interference in our election.
So
if he has allegations
you don't think the results
and evidence, don't you want to know it?
So Scott,
aren't you curious as a journalist?
Yeah, Abby Phillip. Suddenly, that's right. Russia hacked, apparently, Jen Psaki's words, the 2016 election. And that's why Trump won. And every so-called journalist accepted that as fact. So we can't accept that there could have been maybe, I don't know, foreign interference in the 2020 election? Just saying. Anyway, Trump got his revenge, obviously. Won in 2024 when almost no one gave him any shot to do so, including me, by the way. I'm willing to say that. Late 2022, I thought Ron DeSantis was the next Trump. And it's time for Trump to step aside. And it's time for DeSantis, who runs Florida, as well as any state we have ever seen in this country's history. Give this guy a chance. And I went down to Florida. I did a speech in Naples. I did a straw poll right after DeSantis won by something like 18 points and won like blue counties, like Miami-Dade, for example. And I said, okay, who would you rather be the Republican nominee? Again, this is, let's see, late November of 2022. And 90% of the hands went up for Trump and 10% for DeSantis. And I asked the Trump people, I said, well, are you happy with Governor DeSantis in terms of his job? Oh, yeah, we want to keep him here. So why wouldn't you want him to be president? Because he doesn't have the fight in him the way Trump does. That was basically the answer I got from almost everybody. That on that stage, it's different. So DeSantis, good as a governor, maybe not so much as a president. That was the sentiment I got. I still believe that Ron DeSantis could be an excellent president, as can Marco Rubio, as can J.D. Vance. I think the bench is strong. When you look at the Democrat bench, well, it's Kamala Harris, two-time loser, Gavin Newsom. If you want America to look like California, good luck. And then obviously AOC, Democrat Socialist, who wants to, let's see, Democrat Socialist, they want to blow up the Senate. Like, in other words, don't want it to exist anymore. Want every illegal in this country to be legal citizens. Don't want ICE to exist. Want border security to be abolished. I could go down the line, but that's the future there. So I don't think AOC, Gavin Newsom, and Kamala Harris. It's not the 98 Yankees. Let's put it that way. Great team, by the way. They won 114 games, I want to say. Well, and then swept the Padres in the World Series. All right, before I go off on a tangent, Candace Owens is insane. I think every night we could play a clip from this maniac, and that's what she is. Because here she's saying that Charlie Kirk was offered by the Israelis an opportunity to kill Candace Owens, and he turned it down, and then he got killed instead. She actually says this on her ridiculous podcast. And again, if you're a fan of Candace and you're listening to me and you're getting angry, don't listen. Turn off your radio. I swear to God, I don't want people like you listening to me, because this is insane stuff. I understand, like, making different arguments and unique perspectives, and that's all great. The thing she has said about Erica Kirk, and now saying that Charlie, the Israelis tried to hire him to kill her? What? I mean, this is the type of stuff where this person should be in a room with padded walls and Dr. Melfi. And you know it, and I know it. Cut number 4, go.
I know what my gut has told me about the situation from the moment that it took place. I know what beyond my gut and beyond my dreams, the statement from Andrew Colbert, it was supposed to be you. Was it? Was it? Is it fair to ask if it's plausible that when Charlie was taken to the Hamptons, the phone call no one wants to address from Bibi Netanyahu, is it fair to ask the question if it was literally supposed to be me? who was supposed to be back on tour with Charlie?
Oh.
Did he say no to killing Candace Owens?
Oh, this is better than Who Shot JR.
And then did he become a liability because he said no? Yeah. What did Charlie turn down from Bibi Netanyahu while Erica was there? Again, the people that were present don't even want to acknowledge the phone call. I only got an acknowledgement that it happened from Erica in person, who then said, oh, he was just following up on a letter that Charlie wrote in May. Really?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Bill Ackman's house, you put Bibi Netanyahu on the phone? And he's just like, hey, I got your letter. I want to talk about that letter from months ago. This feels like a good time. I don't buy it, guys. I think this is darker than we could ever imagine. I think...
Am I understanding this correctly? Okay, so Bibi Netanyahu, the head of Israel, prime minister, best they've ever had leader in terms of Israel, called Charlie Kirk in the Hamptons and said, you have to take out Candace friggin' Owens. And Charlie turned it down. So then Charlie was killed by the Israelis as a result of not being like Tony Soprano, a mob boss, and carrying out an execution of Candace Owens. That's the argument. And again, if you buy this in any way, shape, or form, I don't want to hear from you. Unfollow me on Twitter. Let's break up right now. That is a whole bowl of wrong, like we like to say on this show. All right. Well, before we go to break, let's say bye-bye to daylight savings time. And I'm very, very happy about this, I got to say. I loathe that weekend in, I guess it's November now, right? Maybe even like late October. It seems like it's getting earlier, where it gets dark at 5 o'clock. All right? Give me at least until 6. I don't care if it's dark when I get up in the morning, all right? I expect that. But this daylight savings time thing is an antiquated model idea. So let's end it already. And it looks like it's going to happen. Cut number 5, go.
On the vote, the yeas are 308, the nays are 117. The bill is passed.
All right, so it goes to the president's desk. And then I guess that's the end of daylight savings time, which, again, even Democrats say they don't want it. Republicans don't want it. Bipartisanship, baby. That is a rare thing in Washington, D.C. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, Lindsey Graham will be laid to rest later this week. 71 years old. Sudden, shocking death of Lindsey, who appeared to be quite healthy. But at 71 years old, if you have heart problems in your family in the past, his dad died of a heart attack when he was just 69. It's not as shocking, even though we're hearing from the usual suspects saying that maybe Israel took him out, maybe the Russians poisoned him, or maybe, I don't know, he had a heart problem and he died, which is probably the most reasonable explanation. Anyway, here's Lindsey Graham, and this is to Elena Kagan. This is when she was being confirmation hearings, when things were a lot more civil in Washington, D.C. in 2010. And this is just a great exchange because this is how it used to be. I understand that it's a different world now and Democrats are different people. But it used to be civil. Whether we're talking about Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan. Remember when Reagan got shot March 30th, 1981? And the first person outside the family who was there to pray with President Reagan was Tip O'Neill, the House Speaker, Democrat. We would never, ever see that now. That we do know. But all of that said, here's the exchange between Lindsey Graham and Elena Kagan, and I just think this is just awesome, and the way things used to be, which wasn't such a bad thing. Cut number 24, go.
Now, as we move forward and deal with law of war issues, Christmas Day bomber, where are you at on Christmas Day?
Senator Graham, that is an undecided legal issue, which, I suppose I should ask exactly what you mean by that. I'm assuming that the question you mean is whether a person who was apprehended in the United States is...
No, I just asked you where you're at on Christmas.
Like all Jews, I was probably at a Chinese restaurant.
Oh. Great answer. Great answer.
I could almost see that one coming, and I thought,
Me too. So you were celebrating.
Oh, that's good, guys. That's good.
Senator Schumer explained this to me.
That's a thing, right? I mean, I'm Irish Catholic. Christmas is usually spent with the kids in the morning, opening presents, and then over to our relative's house in the afternoon. They have the NFL now on Christmas. Thank God. God, I could not take that whole NBA, 4 games after the other. I can't watch the NBA. No one plays defense. The playoffs are different. I get it. But on Christmas Day, you do not. I feel sorry for the players, quite frankly. But the NFL is different, totally and completely. And we have a couple of games this year. It doesn't matter, by the way, if the NFL plays on Christmas Day, well, that's just the way it goes, even if it's like a Wednesday, So let's see. Who do we have? Oh, my goodness gracious. My Bears play at home against the Packers. Oh, beautiful. 1 p.m., Friday, December 25th. And then we have oh, boy, what a lineup. Good Lord. Rams and Seahawks from Seattle at 8:15 p.m., which, that hurts because my kids get up really early to open presents. And by, let's say, 9 o'clock, after a full day like that, the Concha wants to go to sleep. So you could have started that maybe at 7, but fine. Either way, that's like a Super Bowl preview pretty much. You could have Bears, Rams, you could have Seattle and the Packers, obviously, Jordan Love and Caleb Williams and Matt Stafford and Sam Darnold, formerly of the Jets, is now a Super Bowl winning quarterback because that is the karma of the Green Machine. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, it's always fun when President Trump engages someone from either ABC News, CNN, NBC, MS Now, because, again, he calls out for what he sees those organizations for being, which is profoundly biased. And the worst part about CNN, I've always said, just own who you are. You are part of the Trump resistance. Yay. Look at your hosts. Look at Abby Phillip. Look at Caitlin Collins. Look at Anderson Cooper. Look at Jake Tapper. All right, it's clear. Until they change the culture there, give Scott Jennings a show. I've said this before. Wouldn't that be interesting? Jennings and, I don't know, give me a reasonable liberal. Van Jones. Thank you. Give me those two on a show. I guarantee you the ratings would be quite good. But Jennings is relegated to being this, token conservative, mainly on Abby Phillip's show. And I wish I ran a network just once, please, God, in my next life. Let me run a cable news network. And I'll do what Fox does, quite frankly, where we know what we're doing. We hire the right people. And we actually have, Democrats on the network to argue things. And then I get it on Twitter once in a while where people will write me and say, why do you allow this person to speak? Jessica Tarloff, why is she on the 5? Because she gives a perspective from the left and she's prepared. Sorry. If you disagree with that, but if you had 5 people agreeing with each other, then what's the point? And Tarlov or Ford, Harold Ford Jr., or whoever they put in that seat, that makes it a better, more interesting show. CNN, especially MS Now, will not have any part of that. Show me one Trump supporter who is employed by MS Now. That person doesn't exist. At least CNN puts on Jennings. But again, he should have a much bigger platform. And that is your PSA of the day. Meanwhile, as we were talking about, here's Trump to a reporter from CNN. And, well, this goes exactly the way you would think it would. But it's nevertheless always entertaining. Cut number 9, go.
Has Secretary Hegseth told you why he hasn't released the video of the second strike?
No, he hasn't told me. I thought that issue was dead. You're surprised you bring it up. You must be CNN.
Lawmakers are still talking about it on the Hill.
Are you CNN?
I am with CNN.
Oh, gee, I'm shocked to find out.
The lawmakers are still talking about it on the Hill.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know about lawmakers. Which lawmakers you're talking about?
Most of the Democrats have been talking about trying to release it.
I mean, the people that you work for, the Democrats?
Oh.
You know you work for the Democrats, don't you? You're basically an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you very much, everybody.
It's so true. They are. It's that simple. I've been studying media for a very, very long time, and CNN absolutely is an arm for the Democrat Party. So when this reporter says, lawmakers say, oh, which lawmakers, Trump asked? Oh, well, Democrats. Oh, okay. So you're doing their bidding. That's the way that works. And you look at our reporters over at Fox, whether we're talking about Chad Pergam, whether we're talking about Trey Yingst, right? These guys are real reporters. Jackie Heinrich, Peter Ducey. You gonna tell me they're biased? Because I see a lot of criticism of them asking questions of the president that may be deemed uncomfortable. But Trump appreciates it because at least the question is honest. And that's the way that works. Meanwhile, oh, I love this. Jennifer Welsh, who I can't understand how she's single. Actually, I can. Her husband divorced her, then went into drug rehab, because if you had to listen to this person on a daily basis, you probably would turn to heroin or crack too. Here's Jennifer Welsh on homeschooling, why it's a really, really bad idea. And I have my thoughts on homeschooling, and I'll share them after this. But before you listen to this, do know that Jennifer Welsh dropped out of Oklahoma University of Oklahoma. I think it's, how do you say it? In other words, University of Kentucky, right? But then Kansas is Kansas University. Depends on where you put the university part. I went to the University of Maryland. It's not Maryland University. I'm trying to figure out something that makes no sense. Anyway, the point is, here is Jennifer Welsh on homeschooling, the same person who dropped out of higher education to homeschool herself. Yeah, but I got a little breaking news on the other side. Cut number 11, go.
Now, those of you that are listening that are Methodist or Presbyterian, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the freaks of the megachurch. I'm talking about the ones that have schools that are, these crazy indoctrination factories, hate academies. And then when that hit isn't strong enough, then they go to homeschooling. And I think it's a huge problem. I cannot stand these people. But again, it's a pretty big red flag when somebody tells you, when you're like, what's their deal? They seem kind of off. Well, I was homeschooled. You're like, yeah. Oh. But I just think it's such a selfish thing for parents.
You dropped out of college. You were in a major university and dropped out to homeschool yourself and eventually get yourself on Bravo, reality TV, and then had this ridiculous podcast where you say that people that celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination should be promoted, and the Democrat Party should adopt that as its platform. Yeah, so homeschooling, except when Jennifer Welsh homeschooled herself, that's pretty fascinating. Meanwhile, Stephen Miller, who I think is great on television, and CNN is very hesitant to put this guy on because he's so knowledgeable in what he is talking about. Unapologetic, completely and totally, candid, like a Trump without hair kind of guy, right? And again, the bald thing is in. Chicks dig bald. I don't know. Don't do the comb over. Just get rid of the thing if you're losing it altogether. Stephen Miller, I think, has a fourth child on the way, so obviously that is true. The point is that here he is on CNN talking about how the media is undocumented immigrants instead of them illegals, like Bill Clinton used to do, like Barack Obama used to do. Cut number 12, go.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted a stunning allegation saying that an undocumented migrant sent a letter threatening to kill the president, promising to self-deport after the assassination. CNN reporting shows that investigators believe the migrant was set up. It was a victim of a setup. What is the administration going to do now? And this is an undocumented immigrant. I do want to note that, but this was someone who came forward, was a victim of a crime, and now law enforcement believes he was set up. Go ahead.
Well, I want to clarify what you mean, so we're talking about the same thing. Are you saying this immigrant was here illegally?
Yes, but I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that.
You said undocumented, and I wasn't clear what that means. I'm assuming they have a fake ID. I'm assuming they have a fake social security number.
That's neither here nor there. That's getting away from the question,
country.
Stephen. I want this to be,
no, it's not.
And call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right now.
But when we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
An illegal
alien is an illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's another discussion for another date.
I don't know the details of the assassination threat. All I can say, based on what you're telling me, is there's an illegal alien in our country who's making menacing threats. Regardless of the facts or circumstances, we don't want him here. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and I would gladly come back on when I have more information to share with you.
They were set up, just to be clear. But quickly,
so
where is the White House on habeas corpus?
The illegal alien was treated unfairly. Yes, I'm sure the illegal alien was treated very unfairly.
Where is the White House on
undocumented immigrants? No, they are illegals. They changed the language to make it look like, well, they just don't have their papers. No, they came into this country illegally. That is a crime. Try that in any other country in the world. We are so generous, we were, when it came to this stuff. And now, well, we got to make sure the language is right. Undocumented immigrant. No, illegal, who needs to be deported. All right, before we go to break, here is Scott Jennings to Tiffany Cross. Now, again, Abby Phillip on CNN, 10 p.m., has every unemployed MSNBC host, where if you're too crazy for that network, whether you're Joy Reid, whether you're Tiffany Cross, it doesn't matter. She will put you on. And fortunately, we have a Scott Jennings here who does come prepared to these situations, talking about undocumented immigrants. And he asks a very good question of the unemployed Ms. Cross. Cut number 13, go.
Make this about Abrego Garcia, then it seems like, oh, that's something that happens over there to this person that doesn't involve me. The key point here is ICE illegally held Abrego Garcia without a removal order, the basic legal document needed. And so when you look at that, it can happen to any of us. Moreover, ICE just recently signed a contract. Yes, it can happen to any of us.
Are you
ICE just recently. I don't know what I don't. People aren't illegal, so undocumented
you're a citizen of the United States.
Well, if you don't have the opportunity, don't have the opportunity to fight to have due process, then how can anybody say that?
Is he an illegal alien or not?
I don't call people illegal aliens. I think that's a slur.
Is he illegal? Is he in the country illegally?
Is he here undocumented? Yes.
Is he an illegal
alien? But if
alien?
I may have the professional courtesy to finish my point, even more concerned. I'm not the liar at the table. Believe me.
Be honest about it.
But
You're lying right now.
I'm not lying. But please, if you can give me the courtesy to finish my point, I think it's very concerning.
Yeah, they're illegal. Tiffany Cross, again, fired by MSNBC. There's Abby Phillip. Oh, please, come on. Battle Scott. It's a losing proposition every time. Okay, one more, I promise, before we go to break. Here's Kamala Harris. It's a flashback. Again, she is leading every poll right now for the Democrat nomination, anywhere between 18 and 22 points over Gavin Newsom. Everybody says, it's Newsom's to lose. No, it's not. No, it's not, actually. It's Kamala Harris because, again, you think the Democrat Party is going to pick a straight white guy who runs California horribly? Or will they pick the women of color like Kamala Harris, who, as vice president, was probably the worst vice president of all time? Even worse than Dick Cheney, who literally shot a guy in the head. Like, that you really have to go low to beat Cheney. But sure enough, here we go. Flashback on Kamala Harris explaining what cloud storage is. I worked for Cisco at one point, and even me, who I'm not technically sound, my wife literally bought me a book called Cisco for Dummies when I first started there. But it was a good sales job, and they were offering a lot of money, and they were really, not a lot, but in my world, a lot. And just like a great company, good culture. My years there were awesome while I was trying to get into this business. Nevertheless, even I, like, after about 5 seconds, understood what cloud storage was. But Kamala, not so much here. In cut number 15, go.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's
really?
On your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right?
Above us.
It's no longer in a physical place.
So the cloud is literally above us? Is that how that works? Like those white puffy things, that's where my information goes online? It's literally above us? Oh, please make her the nominee. Oh, please make her run for 2 years, which you will have to do. Not 107 days. You'll really, really get to know her. And the more she speaks, it's like anchovies. The more anchovies you have, the more you don't want the anchovy. And that is Kamala Harris. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Joe Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So, I have this Twitter feed that has this awesome algorithm. I don't know where it came from. It kind of knows what I really, really want to hear and therefore play for you guys and gals on this show. Here's a flashback to Ricky Gervais. He was on The View, and he torches those hens over there and saying that, because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. It's so true. And if you've noticed, Gervais has not hosted any award shows since he scolded Hollywood in what has become one of the most viral moments of all time, where he said, just accept your speech, thank your agent, and get off. No one wants to hear your political views. And for that, he has been banned because, well, that's a big no-no. Anyway, flashback here to Gervais on The View and cut number 14. Go.
That's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right. It's offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? So you can't second guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that. But you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing. Because I'm not doing it for the 200 egos in the room. I'm doing it for the 200 million people watching around who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires. And freedom of speech is so important these days. I've reached the age now where I don't care anymore. It's a sin. To joke about all the bad things, that's a waste. Because that's exactly what we should joke about. If you can laugh in the face of adversity, you're bulletproof.
Boy, he's good. I would hire him tomorrow. I talked before on the show how I'd love to run a network one day. That's the first person I hire to do every award show, and not Jimmy effing Kimmel or anybody else like Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart or whoever. Gervais, that's the real deal there. Old school comedian. Anyway, speaking of getting booed, here's Tim Walz in Minnesota. Thank God some veterans crashed a speech that he was doing, and he got booed over claiming that he fought in war zones. When, nope, that never happened. And he didn't handle it very well. And cut number 16, go.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you all, boo.
Well, welcome to the Capitol. It's great that you're all... Sir, you're welcome to come. Let me finish. Let me finish and vote.
You didn't finish your tour.
He doesn't have Shut your mouth. Oh, hey, there's some passion in the building, which is a good thing.
Reaction to some of the boos you got out there and some of the heckling.
Yeah, and some of the thank you. And this guy wanted to go help me brawl the guy. Look, that's what they're going to do. These folks come here, but they're going to have to face the reality. Some of these guys voted for what's happening at the VA, and they don't like it. Some of them come up here and are saying they're supporting folks who are voting against this. The House budget is grossly underfunded in veterans, and it has to change.
All right, enough. I mean, Guy, you were in Italy. You were called to fight in Iraq, and then you said, I'm out of here, in the National Guard. Whoops. And you went back to Minnesota and then proceeded to visit China on 33 occasions. Okay. So you're pro-China, and then when your country needed you to fight in Iraq, you ran, and now you're being booed because you said you fought in war zones when you never did. And he handled that well, and that's why he's not running for even re-election. This guy went from being a possible presidential candidate to a laughingstock, and that's the way it should be. Okay, before we wrap this puppy up, here is Hunter Biden. Oh, man. This guy, has got some balls. Like, I sometimes mean that complimentary, the some balls thing, and then here, just you shake your head. I mean, he's done more damage to his family, to himself, than anything, and yet he just cannot run from getting enough attention on himself. Here he is going off on Trump, blames him for tormenting him and his dad. Oh no, cut number 23, go.
Go his self. That's what I would tell him.
Lord.
And please leave. I mean, like, like I can be civil and I can tell you, like, oh, well, listen, he's a president. I don't want him to be pissed off at me. He's the president of the United States. Well, obviously, wouldn't you want to have a constructive dad? This man has tried to torture me for 10 years. The that he says about my dad, his obsession with tormenting my dad, hanging a picture of an auto pin on the colonnade, demeaning him, and all the things that he said about him. And anyone would expect me to do anything outside of which I would never do is physical violence against that person. What kind of man would I be if I didn't tell him to go himself? What kind of man would I be? And I ask that to all of you UFC fans. I'm a UFC fan too. You know, I've challenged Don Jr. to a cage match 3 times now. Never heard back from him. That's how I'm going to pay all my debt.
Your debt. Your debt from what, Hunter? Crack cocaine, hookers. You got $500,000 at painting. You got all that money from Burisma, from the Chinese, from the Russians, from countries I can't even spell, let alone pronounce. And now, yeah, you're the victim, right? By the way, it was your dad who said 5 days before Butler, Pennsylvania assassination that occurred 2 years ago this week that we need, I'll quote it, we need to put Donald Trump in a bullseye, unquote. And then 5 days later, someone nearly took his head off. Yeah, but your dad's the victim, right? Freak. Anyway, we're going to end this on a happy note, aren't we? This is Joe Concha. This has been Joe Concha at Night. We're back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC and on stations around the country, around the world. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.